into my first men's group and I started talking. I mean, I broke down and lost it. And all of a sudden, I couldn't stop crying. I was like, oh my God, what is going on here?
Mhm.
I never experienced anything like it. I'm sort of a feeling individual. So it didn't surprise me, but I was like, wow. And then the work that we did, I was in this group with these people for 15 plus years and every Monday. So we were deep into each other's lives and knew everything about each other and very powerful, very productive. And again, it changed me in so many great ways.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Soulmates and Suitcases. My name is Lisa Brarely, and on the screen, if you're seeing the screen right now, is my husband and co-host, Scott Brarely. And if you are new to Soulmates and Suitcases, our podcast is a place where we have honest and open conversations about many things: healing, growth, resilience, relationships, and of course, sharing all those stories that shape us. And you can find all our episodes and season 1 and season 2 on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and TrueFans.fm, which is a new platform for us. And today we have a special guest, and we're excited to have Daniel Sterling join us today. Welcome, Daniel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so Daniel, yeah, thanks. Daniel has quite the background, and we're excited to talk about transformation and resilience and so many amazing things today. And we're going to get into your sort of the time before, we'll talk about it, and the time after. But Daniel is the author of Hungry, a memoir of self-discovery, furthering of the soul, and evolution of the spirit. An amazing title, Daniel. So maybe we can start, Daniel, by you telling us a little bit about yourself and maybe what brought you to this space here today.
Okay. Big question.
Yes.
Uh, I like it. So, I grew up in Aspen, Colorado, which is uh, most people know the name and the reputation, but for me, it was a dusty small town. And back when I was coming up, my parents moved there in the late 50s. It was everybody was all the locals were all struggling to make a living because there was not the tourism that we know today. So um, it was there's a certain amount of financial stress, and my father especially was worked all the time and was a little prickly, so I avoided him. And my mother was the life of the party, and then not, and 5 kids, 2 cousins that lived with us, so she was stretched thin and emotionally detached. So I learned very early on that I was pretty much on my own. There's obviously cons to that, but I was desperate for structure and, my father to talk to me and advise me and guide me, and never happened. And they allowed an older brother to torment me as well. And so that's a lot of the early book and sort of my formation. I sort of joked that I was born in a bomb crater. And so I had to try and figure out my life for 39 years. And so I was pursuing all these sort of adrenaline charged pursuits. Ski racing was the first one. I joked that I won my first ski race when I was 8 years old and, filled with serotonin and endorphins. And I was like, ooh, I like this. So I pursued that high, as I joke, and that was going to be the substitute for the love in my home that had gone missing. So I figured that if I could get accolades and affirmation in the world, that would fill me. So ski racing morphed into broadcasting because I thought, well, I'll talk about what I know and love. But that actually morphed into a job as a television news reporter in New Mexico. And my news director liked me, and I could shoot video and edit and write. And so she offered me a job as an outdoor reporter. So for 5 years, I was in a company car with a $30,000 Betacam, Sony Betacam camera in the back, doing all these crazy stories, riding in gliders and ice climbing and caving. And, I'm 1,500 feet underground in this cave with these professional spelunkers doing a story. And of course, I did ski tips. And so it was very good for my ego. And that's who I was. I was my ego. And so after 5 years, that sort of lost its luster. And so I thought, well, I've got a background in, video, and I knew lighting and framing, and I could write. I thought, well, I'll move to Southern California and write and direct feature films. That was my holy grail. So I was in my little room for 3, 4 years writing and writing. So I ended up writing 5 screenplays and shopping them to every production house in Los Angeles. And I couldn't get an agent, so I had to pose as my own agent. So I would ship them the script, follow up with a phone call and say, I'm representing my client, Daniel Sterling. Did you receive a script and do you have any thoughts? And so they were, honest and encouraging a little bit, but they all passed. The truth was that screenwriting was not my skill set. So this was when I was 39 and I sat back on my haunches and I was like, I wrote and wrote and wrote and figured out I had nothing to say because I had no self-knowledge. And if there's anything that has come out of my life is that I know myself so well and see my, trouble spots coming from much further away, so I can be more proactive and, make good choices, healthy choices. So I sort of bottomed out at 39, broke, in debt, and through a men's group, I met this guy that I was attending, said, you should meet this friend of mine. She's amazing. I was like, okay, sounds good. So I met her and we sat down and had dinner, the three of us. And she said, tell me about your life. So I told her that exactly the story I just told you. And, I had an Olympian my brother was an Olympian ski racer. My mother had a ski magazine column and wrote books. And so it was a sort of a shiny story. And I told her that, and half an hour later, she looked at me and said, well, that all sounds great. Why are you so miserable? And I was like, oh my God, am I that transparent? And apparently I was. But she changed my life, reframed my life in every way imaginable. And of course, I was down there in the mud and the blood and dealing with my defiance and defenses and my ego and my need to be right and my insecurities about not being right and on and on. So she did me the greatest service. So the book is really paying forward what she so freely gave to me, of which I am very grateful. So now I've become sort of a man of service, and it's who I am. And if someone reads my book and it helps them, then I will have achieved what I set out to do.
And so the part of you are of service, is it that you're sharing your book, yourself, your thoughts, your wisdom, or is there something else you mean you're speaking of in regards to service?
Uh, well, all of that is certainly part of it, but my hope is that in this raw disclosure that is this book that I've written, that people will see that there is hope. There is a way out of a very dark place. I know because I was there. And with her help, I could not have done this without her. And I was very fortunate. I was also ready, the student and the teacher and that parable. So um, I'm not sure if that answers your question.
Yes. And where do you find yourself then finding the audience who is going to be, hopefully reading your book? Where are you searching? Where are you looking? Who are you, where are you putting yourself out there, I guess, in regards to supporting people?
Well, I have a men's group that I started.
Oh,
So along with this mentor, we had a group of seven of us in California, and we would meet every Monday. So I saw the power of it. And
mm,
those six people looking at me when I was in my defiance was really what changed everything for me because I looked at them and I said, you guys are so wrong. And I'm right about this issue. And finally, I came to the understanding that they loved me, they cared about me, they wanted what was best for me, and they were not going to steer me wrong. So I finally had to say, I just don't believe what you guys are telling me, but I know that you care about me, so I'm gonna listen, and I'm gonna just speak to the fact that I am so uncomfortable, and all I want to do is either argue with you or run. And the fact that I didn't run and I hung tough and started to build myself back into who I am today, that's what I am hoping that I can convey a little bit of these tangible skills that she gave me, like speaking in I statements and I statement followed by a feeling, active listening, um, being proactive with my people. And, if I get into my smart ass sense of self and I say something trying to be funny and I catch it in that moment, today I just go, I think maybe I overstepped. So if I did, let me know. And if I did, I'm sorry. I'll be careful next time. We call an action step. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do differently next time. So I'm very big on relationships, and I think there's such power in when two people are really sort of rowing in the same direction and committed to making things work and taking care of business. I find it to be a very powerful thing.
I agree with you. And understanding that your words are very powerful. So what you're choosing to have come out of your mouth is extremely powerful.
Oh boy, is that the truth? Yeah, we have to learn how to argue and fight and negotiate.
Yeah.
And instead, it becomes so inflammatory so early. And then it starts to turn personal. And then we got another mess to clean up.
Yeah. Are you now that you're in this new space, I'll call it. Sometimes I call it like you're elevating from different spaces in your life. But now that you're in this new space, are you very more aware of that feeling of, I'll call, you said inflammatory. So inflammation or seeing other people really struggle with this. Are you much more aware of that?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Because I was there and through many years of practice and it being brought to my attention that, my language could use some work, people feeding back to me. Um, so yeah, I'm very aware of it. And I so wish that our communication skills were better because I think that people could live a much better life if they were more judicious and measured with their language and, looking at their partner saying, I love you and I need to say this because it's this stance of yours putting distance between us, and I don't want that. So there's 100 ways to say it in a kind and productive way that's going to encourage the other person to settle down a little bit and not be so defended and feel like they need to defend their turf. So yeah, language is everything, and it's very limiting.
Yeah.
So it's a skill set like anything else that can be learned.
It isn't so, it takes time though. Like I look at my family and where I come from, and my older brother's just done some stuff that I look back at, and it's like, you know who I can see though? I see me.
Oh yeah.
And it's the same behaviors that I did before I started really growing. And it's like, it's funny how it takes a severe bottom to get out of our own lives. Because we're like, I don't know about you, but I was like pointing the finger that it was everybody else. And then when I realized it was all me, and it was about decisions I made at where I was going, and instead of making the decision to go left, it was always your fault, so I would go right, and or just pull my way straight through. And that's how I spent most of my life. And you talked about in flight all the time, and that's how I spent most of my life, either in fight or flight. And it was kind of neat. I had the situation this summer with my older brother, and I'm staying in his house, and I literally felt like I need to get out of here right now or fight with him. And then I go
Yep.
up and I lay down in bed and I realize, man, you're in fight or flight, so just change your direction just a little bit. Admit where you've been wrong. And that's what I did is I went down and admitted where I've been wrong. And he didn't get better, but I did. Like I felt more comfortable and more less like centered. So
Uh, I so hear this, Scott, and people ask me, it's like, if there's anything you learn, I mean, what is one of your biggest lessons? And my immediately answer is accountability, personal accountability, and that's what I'm hearing you say. So uh, I have to go inward first. And it's like, okay, what is my role in this? And then it's my job to say, here's where I overstepped, and here's where oh, I was abrasive, or my voice had a bite to it. So I'm here to absolutely own that. And when two people are doing exactly that, then we clean up the business, and then everybody gets a release, and there's no more tension. And now we can move on to the good stuff. But when you talk about a brother who's not going to own it, well, I've got very similar situation, and he would never look at any of this, and which is very sad. But um, I just think it would be a better world if there was more accountability, and because it does me no good to defend a position that I have no reason defending, I'm clearly in the wrong. So I find it when I started to take ownership of this, it was so liberating for me. And now it's like second nature. And so you talk, Lisa, about picking up people's defiance and defenses, and oh man, I know it so well in me that I see it in others coming from a mile away.
Yeah. And I know for myself, Daniel, I've come to this place of I remind myself that's their story, that's their journey. And, I'm here to show my worth so I can reflect back to them to see their worth. And so when I look within, like you talk about, when I do my own work, and when I kind of picture it as like a bucket. So when I fill myself up and remind myself that I am worthy, then that overflows and can extend outward. And I keep reminding myself of that process. And you talk about as well, Daniel, about vulnerability. And so, being okay to say, ooh, I, bit back at you, or said something rude to you and I want to apologize. Like that, to me, that's huge that you can do that, because then you release and you move on. So like showing people that it's okay to be in that space, I think is a great modeling and teaching time. And it allows them to also do the same. So see it and then be able to do something the same, or at least test it out.
Hopefully, hopefully,
Hopefully.
yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, um, I have a job to do, and that's to, not to say I always achieve it, but my job is to be kind and caring and considerate and rigorous when I need to, and operate out of integrity. That's my intention all the time. And so I don't get into scrapes with people, except my neighbor whose dog was off leash and bit my little dog in the head and almost punctured his eye. Then I lost it. So because he stood there and did nothing and said nothing, and I had to kick his dog to get him to release my little guy from his grip. And so, man, don't tap into that side of me, because it's ugly and I know it really well. And it's the parable that the Native Americans talk about, the two wolves that we keep in the basement. It's like, well, which one rules? Is it the angry, aggressive, snarling beast, or is it, the kind, considerate, wonderful animal? And it's the one I feed.
Yeah, it is about the one you feed for sure. And I think one thing that we've discovered as well in our journey, Scott and I both were certified as crisis and recovery coaches.
Here's a quick pause in the conversation to invite you to join our Facebook community, Soulmates and Suitcases podcast. Tell your story, amplify your voice, where we share upcoming guests, new episodes, and conversations from the podcast. And you can catch all episodes on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Be sure to follow and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Now back to the show.
And the big emphasis in that program is coming to a place of curiosity. So when you come to this place of curiosity with other people, like even your neighbor with the dog, asking what was happening, what was happening with your dog, why was your dog out, why, like all those sort of things, but not in a interrogation way, just from a place of curiosity. So they get to share what was happening, so you can have a conversation, a discussion, and come to this settlement place of, well, we don't want that in the future, what can we do together? So it is interesting how many of us want to respond with a solution, or we're, like you said, which dog, which wolf are we feeding? But we come to this place of, I know the answer and I'll give you the answer. But instead come from this place of questioning in regards to, what's your idea? Let's hear from you. And so it is interesting when you come to that place, Daniel, because then we get to know people better. I don't know if you've discovered that along the way as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That of course takes two willing individuals. So in the case of this guy, he was an unwilling participant and very male and very, he accused my little dog of injuring his dog. I'm like, you got to be kidding. That's your story? So very defended. And so, I mean, there's no in with a guy like that. And I understand that. But the reason I brought it up is that I know that that person lives within me, and I don't want it to come out. It's like the Incredible Hulk, it takes a lot to get that going. And then once someone is tapped into it, there's no reversing that process.
Yeah,
So,
it's that reminder for sure, but where do you want to put your energy? And so you spoke about Daniel, the men's group. Can you tell us a little bit about that, more what that looks like for you? And because I'm sure I know Scott's talked about men's groups and having men especially coming together. So what does that look like for you, Daniel?
so I'm glad you asked. I started, it'll be 3 years this October, and I'm up to 96 members here in Denver, and three show up, four show up. So I I'm looking for, eight maybe, because that's a good number. And then everybody in the course of 2 hours they get their say. So it's very informal, and I feel a great responsibility to speak up when I feel like the moment comes to me. And before the meeting every month on that Monday, I I speak to what I call my God. It's like a higher power. I'm not religious by nature, but what I ask for is insight, the language that I need, and the timing that I need. So I don't claim to not have the answers for anybody. I don't give advice. What I do is usually talk about some account of my own that hopefully is going to relate to what they're going through. And so I facilitate, and these guys talk, and I continue to dig and probe and say, I'm having a thought about a direction for you. Would you like to hear it? So I don't ever want to feel like I'm somehow up here and they're down here. That's not who I am, and I have an aversion to that. And so when it flows, I'm very encouraged. And I've got three guys that are steady and they show up. But I would like to grow it, because I think there's a lot of value in it, and I know that there's a place for it for men in this world. In fact, the second book I'm writing right now is what I jokingly call a man book. I say, I feel your pain as men. We are being accused of so much and portrayed as so feeble in many ways. And so they've kind of driven these young men and boys into the basements where Call of Duty, and they're on their phones, and they're socially stunted. So I know that they're all struggling with it. There's a lot of depression in these kids. So I think we need to do better, raising our kids and being positive, to model a lot of these positive attributes for them, and require more of them. Put the phone down at dinner. Let's talk about, something engaged.
Yeah, sorry, we're having a little bit of
Stay
connection
off the
issues there.
devices. My internet I saw was down a little bit. Everything good now?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I think your message is so powerful. That's why it's doing that.
Well, good. So did I answer your question about the men's group?
I think so. How did you get started? Because I know there's people out there, it's like, well, how do I start this, and how does it look? like you say you have members, and how do you share when you have meetings and that sort of thing? How does it actually operate so someone might be able to replicate?
It's on Meetup.
Oh, yes, so you have that
Yeah, so
online.
I post a meeting and then we fill up, like we'll have 6 guys and I won't post a meeting online for that month because it's a good number. But now I post it again for this coming Monday because we're down. So, guys plug in and then they don't show up again. And I get it. But they got to go and they have to experience it and to get into it a little deeper before they start to see the value. And, that's not something that we can explain. I can't explain that in a mission statement, although I like what I wrote and I pulled, a lot of guys in and they joined, but men are not joiners by nature. And it's, they're thinking about, oh my God, I got to go there with 6 guys I don't know and talk about my life. Really? But if they get in and start to feel the trust and support and, um, sharing one story, there's a lot of power in that in language. And I know when I went to my first men's group and I started talking, I mean, I broke down and lost it. And all of a sudden, I couldn't stop crying. I was like, oh my God, what is going on here?
Mhm.
I never experienced anything like it. I'm sort of a feeling individual. So it didn't surprise me, but I was like, wow. And then the work that we did, I was in this group with these people for 15 plus years and every Monday. So we were deep into each other's lives and knew everything about each other and very powerful, very productive. And again, it changed me in so many great ways.
Mm. It
So,
it is very, that does sound very powerful, and it reminds me it isn't just men who don't share their feelings. I know that's the way sort of my family sort of way of living was. That wasn't, I think it's very typical. I don't know. I'm just thinking that, but living in that, I call it this zone, and not feeling this or this, like, but just everything's okay zone. And so being able to share emotions and share feelings was something that I didn't really learn until I literally met Scott around that time, so about 5 years ago, and still discovering how to cry, how to show emotion, how to be upset, all those things. It doesn't really come, I'll say, natural or come out of me easily. And it's a journey, right? It's a journey of trusting yourself. I think that's one of the big things. And I know Scott will probably want to pipe up about either his experience or men's groups, but it is very much needed that we are worth doing something about, men or women.
And then, and then you
yeah,
go to places that you have to do it this way. And it's like, I don't believe there's any set straight line for actually everybody to get on to find results. I believe everybody's got their little curvy journey to do to get to where they need to be. And because I know that's for me, and I've watched people, and it's like that for a lot of people. And yes, there's some people they can join something and they toe the line, and that's good for them. But I know a majority of people are almost incapable of doing that.
uh, yeah, I'd have to hear more about this structure that this men's group you're talking about, but
Well,
rigidity is,
it's not really a men's group. It's one of the like the 12-step world and that
yeah,
sort of stuff. And it's like I had somebody go to me, "How's your life going?" I haven't seen him in a long time, and I said, "It's absolutely fantastic." And he's like, "Well, God's an amazing person, and it sees He loves you lots." And it's like, I don't really believe in God, so I mean, I believe in something, but not the word God. And well, God loves you anyways. And it's like, why are you pushing your beliefs on?
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, yeah, that I don't need to attribute my own growth to uh, anything or anyone other than, my own efforts and people that were there for me. And yeah, a higher power has definitely walked with me. And, I believe in grace. And so, yeah, but to say that it's all God, their God, uh, yeah, that's unfortunate.
Sort of your journey of this awareness and healing, um, and meeting this person. How do you think this, like, how do you feel that this mentor you had, this lady, how did she come into your life? You talked about being open. And so, like, I hear other people say that, I say that. What does it mean to you to be open?
So I will tell you at that point in my life, open was not even in my mind's eye. I was in psychic pain and um, desperate. I suppose I could use that. Depressed, absolutely. Um, I I had kind of bottomed out. So I was like, there has to be a better way to live. And I am right now suffering without purpose. When I got deep into the work, it was wrenching at times, looking inward as I did and having nowhere to run to, just continuing to face myself and having her mirror back to me, where I was falling down. So then I began to, I guess you could say, suffer with purpose, where by increments I started to see progress in me. Letting go of my ego and defiance and my argumentative. It was a process that took a long time. So to answer your question, it was, what did you say? Hope? What was the term you used?
Well, being open.
Open. Thank you. Open. Yeah, I was, when I say there has to be a better way, that would be answering your question. In that way, I was open.
Yeah.
It's like, I need help and I can't do this alone. So, yes, I was open.
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of key things in there that you said, Daniel, about, so first of all, opening your own mouth and saying it out loud, because that allows that opportunity for someone else to hear it. And then asking for help, asking for support, looking for support, and being aware there is another option. Because I know I too, I see a lot of people stuck sort of feeling, sort of belief that they don't think that there is something else.
Yes.
Well,
Yes.
not even that. It's like I've heard and read some in places that we actually need a catastrophic event to happen in order to have a shift in our life. And unfortunately, it's kind of true. Like or most people I know that have changed their lives have had something go on in their lives, like alcoholism, cancer, and then they shift after that because they realize that life's too short to live the way they've been living. And it's and unfortunate people don't hear it till that happens. And I'm sure you were at that point when you ran into this lady, or you wouldn't have had the shift.
Yep. And she used to tell me the only thing people listen to is pain
Yeah.
because there are so many distractions in our world. I can busy myself with travel and spending and a new car and something shiny that what I call empty calories. I mean, these things are all wonderful. Don't get me wrong. But if that is my end all be all and that's who I am, I just then uh, lost my train of thought. Um, yeah, I can't pull it back.
That's
I have,
okay. It's one of those thoughts where it's not important, those materialistic things. There's more to your life than that.
I
Like,
hope so. There's to mine.
Is.
But and I wish that for others because I've been there. I chasing all these aspirations of mine. Um, well, I have, I like my story, but none of those filled me. And I when I started to do this work, and I um, was reading a newspaper, and there was an ad there that says you could be a home inspector. I have carpentry in my background, construction, so I pursued this career and worked for this company and became this home inspector, which is, tough, it's dirty, it's dangerous. But I loved it because I was climbing out of a financial hole. So it felt really good to have money for the first time in my life and start to invest. And so there's empowerment in all of these aspects of um, this group that I was involved with, who I was becoming, who I was working to build. The finance was part of that, and I was being of service to these people spending these godly amounts of money buying these houses. And so that was my first real experience of being in a service industry, and that felt really good.
it's kind of crazy though, and I see this in my previous marriage, and how much energy I put into running my business, and I put more energy into uh, renovations in the house or polishing the Harley, and just a little bit into my previous wife, and then it all blows up and ends up ending, and it's like, what happened? I'm doing all of this, and it's like, but you missed the most important key part. It's like, and I can go back even to one of my nieces that stopped talking to me when she was 13. She's 40 something, and we still don't talk. And she sent me this venomous email that I put more energy into this program than I do my family. And I remember when she sent it, I was all defensive, and it's like, she's wrong. And it's like, now that I've done a whole bunch of other work on me, she's right. I put no energy into my family. And I can't deny it to her. So, and it's, I don't know, I still find it crazy that we get taught all of that right from school, like be the good worker, go to school, do this, achieve stuff, and they don't talk about family all the way through it.
That's the truth. But isn't that the good news that you can see it now and do something different?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
I always say, they need to teach people how to be married in high school, how to be in a relationship. Never happened because who could agree on a curriculum? But um, the people are getting married in their early 20s. Man, the odds are so far against them of ever making anything productive and two people working at it and creating something incredible when they have no skills. So yeah.
Yeah, the expectations and the norms and the boxes we've created in our world, even the whole, being with a company and retiring in that company and that's what you know, and the expectation of, you don't get divorced. You stick it out, even if like this is not working for you, whatever it is, that norm that's been created, or, you know, it's interesting that when you do some of this personal development work, self-development work, is you start to see, oh, I'll say us in society, they created this. And it doesn't have to stay that way. I can recreate myself and do what feels right and aligns with me. So it seems like kind of that's what you're discovering as well, Daniel.
Very much so. So it's the old saying to be in the world, but not of the world. Um, I love being in the world, but I also know that um, that is secondary to my spiritual life.
Yes.
And these, like I have a relationship with a childhood friend. We reconnected after many years apart. And I have this sort of what I would call this soaring relationship with this guy that I used to ski race with. He was a kid that moved to our town, and I never liked him. And it was just another guy that I had to beat, ski racing. And his parents had more money than mine did, and he had better toys than I did. He had a mini bike. And so I just didn't like him. And I was envious of him. Now, he is like one of the cornerstones of my life. And so my relationship with him is more important than 98% of what I do and what I'm involved in my life. So I never would have thought that would happen to me. And it's an incredible thing. And all I want is more of that, and I'm trying to build that here in Denver through the men's group, and, not much of a joiner. So it's hard to find, people and build relationships later in life, but I keep working at it. And this is also one of my great hopes that, I've got a website and an email list, and I want people to reach out to me. I want to build community in this way. And I want people to say, I read your book and I really like this part. And it so resonate with my life. And I think it would be just a great thing for people to approach me. And I have this sort of online community, and I see people at events, and, I get up and speak. So I got a big idea of where this book and this writing of mine is going to take me.
Yes, I love the vision.
Final pause. If you've got a message on your heart and want to be our guest, don't be shy. We'd love to hear from you. Visit forwardwalkingchoices.com, scroll to the Soulmates and Suitcases podcast section, and click apply here. Now back to the show.
I love the vision. And so two things I want to ask you. The men's group. So how can people get a hold of you, men in particular, get a hold of you to join? And then as well, your book. So let's start with the men's group. So how can men connect with you?
Well, you served up a big fat softball for me to hit, so thank you. So the men's group it's called Mile High Men's Group. It's here in Denver, and we have it at my house. They can find it on Meetup. They have to join Meetup. So that's out there in the world, certainly. And the book is, so I'm shopping it to these literary agents, and most of them are in Manhattan. So they're in a very specific environment. Some people would call it a bubble. So I've got this sort of wild, adrenaline charged, nature based, spiritually earthy story, and I don't know if it's going to resonate with them. So I've sent out, I mean, after combing through this huge list of literary agents online, and I'm looking specifically for those who are looking for memoir from unknown writers. Well, that's me. So I spent a couple of weeks just combing through these lists and finding people that are looking for what I do. And so I queried them. So out of these thousands of agents, I found 152, and I sent them 10 pages of the book here that others wanted two chapters, another one wanted a book proposal, another one wants just a bio. You know, they all want something different, but very specific. So all I need is one. And so, you know, I love coming on your podcast because I never know who's listening.
I know.
And hopefully someone is going to say, you know, I like what you have to say. I think there's merit to it. Let's talk about it and get your book out in the world. So that's how I think every day, all day. And I just keep moving forward. And so while I've sent those queries out, that chapter sort of closed, and now I'm waiting to hear back. And slowly they're starting to respond, and it's, yeah, we're going to pass. And in the meantime, I'm 4 chapters into the next book, the Man book, which I have a writing coach who's just the best. She knows me so well, and what I write resonates with her. So we're a very good fit. And so I'm very fortunate in that way. The universe has been kind to me and bringing me people. So that's the book. And I believe in this story of mine and what I've learned. And so I will get it out there.
And what you think is what you create. That's what I'm seeing.
That is the truth, Lisa.
What you think is what you create. Do you have a copy of your book there?
So I do not have a copy because so the literary agents are the gatekeepers. So I am working on finding one of them, and then they're going to take my book. We'll probably work on it a little bit, clean it up. It gets re-edited, and then they approach these publishers who they have relationships with. That's how that world works. So I'm in this first big step. I sort of liken it to this massive castle, and I'm with stone walls and ramparts and a moat, and I'm there at the front, massive doors banging with the huge iron knocker. I'm at the front gate, and if I can't get in the front gate, I'll go in the side door.
Yeah, and
But I will get in.
that buffalo behind you is going to help you get in. I keep seeing him.
That's right. That's right.
That's
It's
so
my
awesome.
Yellowstone buffalo, and Ansel Adams with a geyser from Yellowstone there too. My
Dude.
dear sister helped me pick those out. I'm like, I'm building a podcast studio, so I need a little help with some wall art. And she goes, all right. So
What's so nice, Daniel, is what's so nice is that, you know, no matter what we are doing in our life, we could be like you were a big skier, you were a news guy, you were like you had big things going on. The thing we need to remember is we're always in this journey of growth, and we're just humans doing our best to be human beings, not just doings, but beings, and doing our best to evolve.
that's so funny you say that, because my mentor used to say that, she's like, you got to stop being a human doing and be a human being. I was like, yeah, I don't know any other way. So you're absolutely right. But I know me so well. I was driven from age 8, and I feel no differently today, but I like that about me. And I'm my father's son. I'm a grinder. And So I just put my head down and I work and I write and I fix it and I get frustrated and I go back at it. And, it's showing up and doing the work is everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. There's no shortcuts in any of it.
It's building that resilience, that's for sure.
No question. But there are great rewards to that. I mean, that is building self-worth and pride in oneself. And man, there's no substitute for that. And it's something that no one can take away.
Exactly. Exactly. And it is all within each of us to do that. So when you think
No
of that
question.
concept, when you think of that concept of if we all do that and see that within ourselves, look at the shift then in the world,
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
So we're coming kind of to the end of our podcast, of our recording here, Daniel. Where can our audience find you, connect with you, reach your men's group, get your book, just be able to reach out? Because I know you say community is very important.
It is. Well, hopefully soon I'll have a book. But right now I do have a website. It's daniel-sterling.com.
And
And
that's Sterling with an E.
that's correct. Thank you for that. Yeah, daniel-sterling.com. So it's um, see my shining face, and you can sign up for my mailing list. These publishers, the first thing they want to see is whoever they're considering to publish a book, they want you to have a social media following. And, the more, the better. So they don't like it when I have no followers. But, it's like I see these people, they post these videos about their cat. And they've got 700,000 followers. I'm like, well, it's doable.
And the fact that you're discovering it's hard, it's challenging to invite people, connect with people out for this sort of topic, that whole trust, that whole being vulnerable, letting go. And so I have this feeling that this podcast will support you in your efforts to create that community. So it is sometimes discouraging, seeing the videos of the cats and the dogs and the everything else and all the followers. It does take time. I know for us, it's taken time to grow, and that you will attract the right people.
That's the key. And, you know, my message is certainly not for everyone. But there's a lot of people in the world. And there's a lot of Enneagram 4s in the world. There's like 1.2 billion Enneagram 4s, which is what I am.
Mm,
So I'll find my people, just as you will.
yes.
And, you know, we got a good message and we're interesting and have something to say and that has depth and meaning and substance, we will find our people.
We will find our people. My favorite three-letter word is yet. We just haven't found them yet. And so
There you
every
go.
day is a new day. So thanks so much, Daniel, for joining us. And for those people who are watching and listening to our show today with Daniel Sterling, please take the time to leave a comment, leave a review, maybe ask Daniel a question, and share this episode with other people and other people in your lives that you care for. And for those of you who would like to reach out to Scott and I, you can find us and our books. And if you want to be our guest, you can find us at forwardwalkingchoices.com. And again, thank you, Daniel Sterling, for joining us. And I'm in Thailand, and I will say Kapun Ka. That's what we say when we say thank you in Thailand. And Scott, I'll leave it to you.
Thank you very much for coming. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and hearing your story. And I hope your book takes off.
Lisa and Scott, thank you so much for having me. And Peace be upon you and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Appreciate it. You
Thank
too
you.
as well, Daniel. Take care. Have a great one.
And
You as
bye.
well.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Looking for more inspiration around healing, love, growth, and possibility? You can explore our books at payhip.com/Lisa Scott. If you've got a message on your heart and if today's episode meant something to you, we'd love for you to follow the podcast, share it with someone you care about, or join our Soulmates and Suitcases community online. Click apply here. Thanks for being here. Now back to the show. We'll see you next time.